Hey guys, and welcome to Construct 101. Today we are going to take a look at the 8 direction behavior. Alright, so last week we finished with the general behaviors over here, and this week we're going to start on the movements. So we're going to go with 8 direction, go through these in the following weeks, and then lastly I'm going to go through the attributes at the top. So let's just double click on 8 direction and have a really quick look at the page. So you just right click and help on 8 direction. It's going to load the manual entry, and it just basically details all the options you've got here. Just having a quick look, there's things that I haven't noticed. But yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, this one. It's pretty simple to use, but and you can get some examples too, okay? So make sure you check it out. It's got all the info here, see? Right there. And tells you everything. Yeah, cool. All right. So let's have a little play with it, and I'll show you guys what it can do. So obviously this is your max speed that your character is going to go in pixels per second. Now this is your acceleration, deceleration, and the number of directions it can move. This one I'm going to explain soon, and so same with these ones. So let's just give this a quick test, how it works by default. So arrow keys. And so see the way your character turns when you change direction. That's the smooth option, okay? If you take that away, your character will just snap to the direction that it's going. Now everything in Construct is made to be by default facing to the right. So our character is currently, it's technically top down, but let's say if this was a tank, okay, and this is how you would want to design everything. I'm just flipping it around by using this little rotating thing. Rotating thing, very technical. So this is how you should design stuff, facing to the right, okay? Because now, as you see, when I move, this is correct, okay? So when you're designing like a top-down car, a top-down character or anything, you make sure that it's facing to the right by default, okay? So that's a quick tip there. Now if you want to change it on stage, then you just rotate it back to the position like this, okay? Simple as that. Now we can increase the speed, so let's say 500 a second. We can increase the, not really sure if there's a top limit here, but basically the quicker you accelerate, the more instant it's going to be. So I'm just going to put in something crazy like 10,000, and same for deceleration, because I don't want any sliding. Okay, let's give that a go. So now, as you see, it's very instant, okay? So there is no, and like I said, sorry, I haven't ticked that yet, so I'm just getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so yeah, almost instant. There might be a slight slide, but very, very little. Now I can do things like, oh, first before we do that, we're just going to deselect in smooth, and we're going to say, what is that going to do? Can I? Okay, so if you're going to go no, let's test it out. That means your character is going to face only one way, okay? So nothing. Now, if we're going to select something like 45-degree intervals, that means it's going to go 8 directions. So we can go right, left, up, down, and on diagonals, okay? And if you're only going to select 90 degrees, then it only will go in 4 directions, left and right, up and down, okay? And if I try going this way, it's still going to lock into the I think it's the one you press first. So if I start down and then yeah, that's what it is. So if I go up and then I press right, then it's going to continue with the last one that you've locked it to, which is down. So if I go right and then press up, same thing. See, left, up, yeah. So it will remember the last direction your character, the animation is facing. So that's how this works, just so you understand. So for me, I'm going to make it, I'm going to say no, because I don't need that. And now what we're going to do is select 4 directions. So now your character can only ever move up and down, left or right. So whenever you try and press two keys at once, it will basically look out on you and it will keep going one way. Okay, so that's another way you can do things. Then you can also select left and right, up or down. So there are many different things. Now you can change the controls by unticking default controls and obviously changing that in your code. So that's up to you if you want to play with that. And enabled. Okay, so we're going to disable it. Now I'm going to show you something really cool. Right now, if it's disabled, obviously nothing will work if you press the arrow keys. But if I go into our code here and I add touch, and let's say I'm just go, what am I going to do? On any is in touch, where is that? If basically I'm holding, if I'm holding the button down, then I want to have the character moving. Okay, so I'm just going to go add action, blocking, and there is a thing called simulate control, which means that you can, for example, put in virtual controls on your screen. So you could put in a little button, and when you press that button or when you're holding on that button, your character will move right, or it will move left, or whatever direction, or whatever action you wanted to take, jump, etc. Okay, so we're just going to go simulate control, and we're just going to go right. Okay, so let's have a look at that. If I'm holding the button anywhere, it should work. Oh, no? So what does that actually mean? Maybe I'm using this wrong. Let's try and do another one. I think I'm using that one wrong. So let's add another action. Like I said, this is still a learning curve for me, like it is for you guys. Okay, wait a second. Add event, touch. I don't want to do hold over object though. Is touching object touch? Isn't touch? What if I just want to? It should work. Isn't touch, simulate a direction pressing right. Is that because we disable it? I think that's why. I think I've done the wrong thing, guys. There you go. All right, so what actually happens is you do need that enabled, but you actually only untick default controls. Okay, so enabled stays on, default controls go off. Okay, because when I untick default controls, that means I can simulate I learned something new. There you go. Okay, so like I said, one of the reasons I'm going through all these behaviors to familiarize myself with everything, because I want to know construct in and out. Well, maybe not everything, because there's some pretty complex stuff if you get deep into it, but most of these simple ones I'd love to be able to use with good knowledge, you know. So let's try that again. This should work this time. Okay, so if I hold anywhere, it will work. Now the arrow keys won't work because I've disabled the default controls. Okay, so if the screen's being touched, we're gonna move right. Now we're going to go else, we're going to move left. Okay, so let's just take that, drag it there. So now your character will start moving left, and if I hold down, it will move right. So here's a one button game mechanic without you having to do pretty much anything. Now if we increase it, if we decrease the acceleration here back to, like, let's say 200, and acceleration same thing, so acceleration, deceleration, then your character will slow down and speed up, and it's more of a sliding movement. See, so there is so much you can do with this. And I mean, technically you could change this to up and down. We could simulate going up, and we could simulate going down. Okay, so now you've got some fake gravity, right? So almost like a Flappy Bird style game without actually using physics. Now if you imagine scrolling some blocks and stuff from the right, and when you I'm just going to give you a quick example. Okay, so we could, for example, just add a sprite. Okay, we're just going to chuck it over here. I don't know, just that's fine. Leave it as it is. And what we're going to do, and again, we're not talking about this behavior just yet, but I'm going to add it anyway. Okay, and where is it? Right here. That's the next one we're going to talk about. And let's see. I think it needs to be minus. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that's very fast though. So we're going to slow it down a little bit. And we're going to move blocky. That's my background. Blocky over here. And now we're going to add a simple action. We're going to go if blocky is collides on collision with another object, and we're just going to choose our sprite that we've just added. Okay, we're going to restart the layout. Okay, so let's give it a go. So basically balancing, there you go, restart the layout. Right now, if I avoid it, okay, we can keep playing. All right, so there's a simple game mechanic right there. Now, obviously, this is very rough around the edges. I'm just giving you guys ideas on how this can be used and how you can use a behavior not necessarily only for what it's intended for or what its title is. Okay, I know this one says 8 direction, but doesn't mean that it has to be used for an 8 directional movement. Like what I'm showing you here, I'm basically mimicking a fake up and down gravity movement like Flappy Bird or something along those lines, without actually going to the trouble of using gravity and all the stuff that entails, because sometimes it can be quite processor heavy and that sort of stuff. So you can do really cool things if you think outside the square with these behaviors. There's a lot of possibility, and it saves you a lot of work. You can do all this by yourself, but if you just if you play around with the behaviors a little bit, it can really help. All right, so next week we'll get onto the bullet and I'll explain some of the things that you can do with that, and we'll keep going through the movement behaviors like that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again next week.